Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how we create a cake with little hot air balloons. I'm going to do them in wafer paper and gum paste to see which one's best. So this is a Facebook Live video that I did last week, so it's a bit of a sped up version of that for you guys on here. So I'm using the sugar paste to cover my dummy. So I'm using a dummy cake, not a real cake. Also, I've got some flour and modelling paste. I've got it pink. I'm going to use this for the hot air balloons, but I'm also going to use some Cake Star edible wafer paper. And you can colour the paper. You can either paint it, which I tried but it didn't have a huge success in getting it nice even colour, or you can use an airbrush to try and airbrush the colour on, but you will need to let that paper dry. So while we're waiting for paper to dry, and you can see I've made a huge amount of mess on my board, I'm kneading the flour and modelling paste. So the flour and modelling paste is going to set really hard. I want to roll it super thin, almost to the point where I can see my board through it. And I'm using one of the heart-shaped cutters. So I'm going to cut out some hearts. So I'm using the PME hearts. I'm going to go for fairly small ones. And I've put a line of glue down the centre of one heart. And then I'm going to place the other heart on top of that one. Just make sure you tidy off any edges. And I'm going to press a ruler down the middle of the two hearts so that it kind of makes them fold up a little bit on either side. Hopefully you can see it okay on here. And I'm folding some greaseproof paper and I'm putting it between the two layers so that the second heart up, so the top heart, kind of folds upwards a little bit. And we'll do it again with the next heart. So a bit of glue, it's edible glue we're putting on here, down the middle, just using my ruler to kind of create a bit of a fold, stick the next one on there, pressing it down again with the ruler, and then putting the greaseproof paper in there like that. So it needs to set like that in place. And the other option is instead of folding them, you can actually cut them into little halves and let them set and we can put them together afterwards. Okay guys, so this time I'm going to try the same things in wafer paper. And this one I kind of painted earlier with like a sponge and some powder colours. So I've coloured this paper with the edible powders and a sponge and then I let them dry. You will get a more even coverage if you're using an airbrush. And again, I'm going to go for the small heart and I'm using an edible pen. So I've got a pink edible pen. Remember, links below the video, guys. And I'm going to draw on the inside of each of my cutters. And we folded the paper in half down the middle just to make it easier to cut out each heart. So I'm going to cut each one out folded in half. The only thing is my line's not dead even then. So I'm just going to colour around the edge a bit more. Now, you can spend much longer doing this than I have done. Because I did it in a Facebook Live, I was kind of rushing a bit to get it done. So really, I should have spent longer getting it neater. You'll see some of the paper ones I managed to tear when I folded them as well. So just like we did with the flour and modelling paste ones, we're putting a line of glue down the middle and kind of folding them in half. And then just sticking them on top of each other down that same line. So all the hearts are lined up, glued together, but only in that middle bit. And it's up to you how many hearts you want to put in there. I've put quite a few in this one. Especially compared to like my flour and modelling paste one, I didn't put as many in. And then try and sort of play with it a little bit to pull them apart. I think it maybe needs one more. Let's stick our last one in that middle bit. So I folded it quite tight together, that last one. And once the glue's dried, we'll be able to play around with that a bit more as well. Guys, you can also do these in different colours. So I had a bit of a play around with some red hearts. And I used the wafer paper for these, but I printed them on an edible printer just to see what it looked like. I don't use these red ones in the end because I preferred the pale pink ones. So guys, for this cake, we're going to do a bit of lettering. And when I say cake, it is just a dummy cake because I haven't got any parties or anything to attend at the moment. I've been eating too much cake, so we're going to ice a polystyrene cake. But you guys can obviously do it on a real one. But the letters, I was torn between using the sweet stamps, which you will have seen me using before in videos. And I like the smaller letters. Or the domed Katie Sue mould it is that we've got. I'll put links below because I can't remember the exact name for it. In the mould, you press your fondant or your modelling paste into it to create letters. So I've done some letters already just to speed things up. You just put in a tiny bit of paste in. You can put some corn flour in the mould first to stop it sticking. And then I kind of flex and bend the mould to pop the letters out. I'll put the letters to one side to firm up and then we'll cover the dummy. So I've got the sugar paste one in baby pink. So I thought I'd give this a go. I'm sticking it to my dummy with some piping gel. You can stick it with water or edible glue or even vegetable shortening if you want. And I'm going to do it in two pieces. So we're going to do the top as a piece. So we're sticking the fondant on. I turned it upside down and then we're cutting around the edge. I'll put links to the knife I use as well. This is probably one of my favourite knives, this one. use a bit more. So it's quite a firm fondant is this one. So fondant is the same as ready to roll icing, guys. Fondant is the American word for it, and in UK it's actually sugar paste. So I'm rolling a long strip for this, and I'm going to wrap it around the cake. Guys, I'm going to put links to everything that I use within this video below the video itself. So you can find most of these things in my shop anyway, but I'll put links for if that helps you guys. More piping gel on the outer edge of the cake. You can see all my sprinkles in the background. My plan was to put sprinkles on this cake, but I actually end up not putting that many on. So I've cut one edge of the fondant or sugar paste straight, and we've put it all the way around the cake now. So the straight edge is against like the base, which is actually the top when we turn it the right way around. And where it overlaps, we're going to cut a line through kind of both pieces. Just stretch it, make sure it does definitely overlap. So I'll mark it with my ruler first because I'm really bad at drawing a straight line. Let's cut through. Apologies, my hair's in shot. And then we'll just push it together. And then we're going to try and use the smoothers to kind of press that seam in a little bit more so it's a bit less obvious. So I'm going to use a flexible smoother. So I started with the firm smoothers and then I'm swapping to the flexible ones. You could still do this the same way on a cake that is covered in ganache. So you would just cover your cake in ganache and then you would put your fondant or sugar paste on this way. You would have a baseboard. So where my fingers are on the polystyrene, you would actually have a cake card on there if it was real cake. So you wouldn't be pushing your fingers into a cake. So we'll cut it off so it's level with that polystyrene. If I've used fondant on a polystyrene dummy, guys, I don't use the offcuts on a cake afterwards. Just in case any bits of polystyrene get stuck in there, then I won't use them for anything like that. Okay, so we've flipped it back over. And now we want to have a look at where we're going to put those paper hearts. So you'll see off camera I did them in different sizes. In fact, let's just go back and have a look at the other ones we made with the gum paste as well. They haven't actually set yet. They probably want to go overnight, but I think I like the paper ones best. But let's just have a bit more of a play around with the gum paste ones just quickly. So the gum paste ones that are firming up a little bit, I'm just seeing what they look like if we add a bit of powder to the edge. So this is edible food colouring again in powder form. Just deepening the edge so it's a bit of a red colour we're using here. Links will be below the video, guys. And if you do still want to watch the full version, you can watch that over on our Facebook page. And if you want to watch them live, we do a live video each Tuesday morning at 10:30 a.m. So that's 10:30 a.m. UK time. So I'm just trying to make a bit of a paste. I couldn't find my little paint palette, so I'm just using the top of a little edible sequins pot that I've got. So I'm not mixing it in with the sequins, but it's just my leftover paste, my flour modelling paste with water. So it kind of creates a glue or a gunk. And then those pieces of heart we can push in. So this is if you didn't want to, fold the heart in half like we did with the other ones, you can just put the individual pieces together like that. So I'll put that to one side. It's just so you can see different ways of doing it. So I've got some white fondant now, and I'm going to use my FMM cloud cutters. Go fairly thin with these. If they're a bit big, you can use the cutters to kind of just turn them and cut smaller bits out of the cloud you already have. Hopefully you can tell by what I'm doing in the video. I know it's not always very clear. So I want a straight edge on the bottom of them, you see. There we go. So we don't need too many. So I'm back to deciding whereabouts we're going to stick these hearts. I'm going to put some edible glue on the back. Now, wafer paper can wrinkle if it gets too wet or too much glue, so just be careful with how much you're putting on there. We're going to press it onto our cake or polystyrene fake cake. You can see on the back of the heart, it's a little bit messy with my colouring in with an edible pen, so I should have spent longer. It's always a little bit difficult in the Facebook Lives to spend the time getting things neat. So here I just got a bit of dust, of the red dust from the hearts earlier on the cloud, so I'm just wiping that off with a bit of water. So placing the clouds wherever you want them to go. And then I'm going to take that letter in. So it's not been sat for long, but it's had long enough that it's starting to firm up. And I think what we're going to do is just put just a bit of that red on, because it's almost the same colour pink as the cake, so you're not going to see it. In fact, we might not even get it on the cake. I'm not sure yet. My plan was either to put it on the side of the cake or the board. I do know which one I put it on because obviously I filmed it earlier. But at this stage when we were doing it properly, we didn't know if I was putting it on the cake or the board. So I'm using some white and we're going to cut out some little shapes for the bottom of our hot air balloons. It's kind of a, is it a rhombus? It's a long time since I did shapes at school. With a little bit at the top. It's almost like a white plant pot. I've made like a little white plant pot. And it's going to go under each of those hearts, because the heart's the hot air balloon and this is the little hot air balloon basket. So I'm just going to put the little lines on my balloon. And I'm going to go for pink. I'm starting to wish that I'd gone for a different colour, but I've gone for pink, so just with my edible pen. And I was going to put lots of sprinkles on, but I think it's going to look nicer if I just add the odd one or two kind of coming out my basket. So I'm going to take the heart-shaped sprinkles from this pack. I think this one's, in fact, I think this pack is actually called Love is in the Air, but I'm going to double check and I'll link it below the video. So if you're only putting a few on like this, the sprinkles actually last you ages. And I love my sprinkles. And I've decided the line's a bit harsh for the pink on there, so I'm just taking a bit of water on my brush and kind of blending it outwards. So you can still see it's there, but it's kind of shaded across. It's less obvious. I'm going to use the edible powders again on the bottom of the cake, and I'm going to brush them from the bottom upwards. So I'm aiming to keep it a little bit darker near the bottom of the cake and have it come in lighter as we come up. So it's a fairly big brush, fairly big soft brush, and it is a dry brush. You don't want to wet the brush, otherwise it will make it a little bit streaky. Again, I'll put links below to which coloured powders I use on this. And then, of course, you can ice your cake drum if you want. This one's a rose gold cake drum, so it doesn't really need icing because of the colour of it, but it would look nice iced as well. And then you can start playing around with whereabouts you're going to put that lettering. There we go. That's not my hand there, that was Richard's hand. So there we go, all finished. That's our hot air balloon with wafer paper. And don't forget, if you prefer the gum paste ones, you can use them in gum paste. So I showed you both, but you don't need to use both. Go for one or the other.
If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram and more.